Okay, let's look at a quick case study that relates to a company that everyone will know, Tesla. When you think of carbon emissions, what comes to mind? For many of us, we immediately think about the emissions that come from cars and trucks as we drive around every day. As an industry, transportation is a significant contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, accounting for around 23% of energy-related carbon dioxide emissions globally. Now, in the last 2 decades, significant strides have been made to develop alternative solutions to combustion engines, which have been the backbone of the transportation industry. Among these solutions, electric vehicles have led the way in this transition for mitigating climate change. So a company that helps shift transportation away from combustion engines to electric vehicles would likely be considered a top ESG-rated company, right? Well, maybe, but maybe not. Let's look at a recent example. When many people think of electric vehicles, they instantly think of Tesla. Tesla Inc. is a multinational automotive and clean energy company founded by American engineers and entrepreneurs Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning in 2003. Now, in February 2004, Elon Musk joined as the company's largest shareholder and board chair, becoming the company's CEO 5 years later in 2008. As a pioneering manufacturer of premium sports cars, mass-market electric vehicles, solar energy generation systems, and energy storage products, Tesla is renowned for its market-leading products and services aimed at accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. And today, Tesla is one of the world's most valuable companies, with its market capitalization once reaching over $1 trillion. Now, in late 2020, Tesla was added to the S&P 500, meaning that it was one of the 500 largest companies listed on U.S. stock exchanges. And in May 2021, the automaker was officially added to the S&P 500 ESG Index, which is a list of the companies in the S&P 500 with the best ESG scores based on industry group. Now, you may be wondering how companies are selected for the S&P 500 ESG Index. Well, we won't go through the entire methodology in this video, but you should know that the selection criteria is made public and it's fairly complex. For example, along with considering a company's corporate sustainability practices, they also conduct a media and stakeholder analysis, which assesses recent controversies that can potentially threaten a company's reputation or financial health. For example, a company's ESG score could be reduced if there was evidence of deliberate involvement in and mismanagement of controversial incidents or negligent lapses in oversight. They also investigate companies for any controversies they may have. That could include a range of matters like economic crime, corruption, human rights issues, labor disputes, workplace safety, and environmental disasters. All these different ESG indicators are then calculated for each company, with each indicator having a different weight in the total company-level ESG score calculation. Now, each company's final ESG score is the weighted sum of all these underlying indicators. And these scores are rebalanced on an annual basis, and companies are reviewed quarterly for ongoing eligibility. Now, that sounds like a lot of work, right? Why would a stock exchange go through all of that? And maybe more importantly, why would the companies involved want to be on such a list and therefore willingly participate in providing much of the necessary information for the investigative research? The basic reason is that investors around the world are increasingly socially and environmentally conscious, and therefore want to invest their money in companies that share their ethical values. And this, of course, benefits companies who are on the ESG-related lists, as they are more likely to see rises in their market capitalization. Okay, so back to Tesla. As the market leader in EV production and sales, Tesla must be an ESG ratings darling, right? Actually, not really. After being added to the S&P 500 ESG Index in 2021, Tesla was dropped from the list just 1 year later. But how could a company that claims to be on a mission to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy be excluded from the ESG index, while big oil and gas companies like ExxonMobil remained on the list? Well, Elon Musk certainly wasn't very happy. He aired his frustrations on Twitter, stating that ESG is a scam and it's been weaponized by phony social justice warriors. In a series of posts, Mr. Musk shared memes mocking the inclusion of 6 oil companies on the index and claiming that a good ESG score amounts to a business's compliance with what Musk referred to as the, quote, leftist agenda. In its 2021 impact report, Tesla even said that current ESG evaluation methodologies are, quote, fundamentally flawed because they lack focus on a company's real-world impact on society and the environment. And Tesla board member Hiro Mizuno tweeted that, quote, current ratings often overweight reduction of negative impacts while neglecting positive impacts. So what were the reasons that S&P gave for removing Tesla from the index? Well, there were several. First, it's important to understand that companies are analyzed based on how they compare to other companies in their industry group. Now, Tesla is assessed in the automobiles and components group, and many other companies in that group are also rapidly changing their products and practices to improve their ESG scores. So whereas Tesla's score stayed fairly stable from 2020 to 2021, other companies in the same industry group improved their scores enough to push past Tesla and thus edge Tesla off the list entirely. Okay, well that makes some sense, but why did Tesla's score not increase? Well, Tesla was actually marked down for things like not having a low carbon strategy and insufficient code of business conduct. Now, by comparison, in 2022, ExxonMobil announced a low carbon strategy pledging their ambition for net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. At the time, Tesla didn't have a similar low carbon strategy or pledge, which hurt their ESG score. Now, people involved with Tesla thought that was kind of ridiculous though. Tesla's entire business model is based on reducing carbon and moving personal transportation away from combustion engines and toward electric vehicles. As Tesla board member Hiro Mizuno highlighted, should ESG indexes provide stronger weighting to the positive impacts that companies have on problems like climate change, rather than focusing primarily on how a company is reducing their negative impacts? And the analysis also identified two separate events related to claims of racial discrimination and poor working conditions at a Tesla factory. Additionally, Tesla was dinged because several deaths were linked to the company's autopilot function, and analysts did not feel that Tesla handled a U.S. federal investigation into the problem very well. And in the same year, the automaker reached settlement with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency for violating regulations relating to hazardous air pollutants used in the surface coating of Tesla vehicles. So effectively, Tesla's removal was based on a combination of other companies in the same industry group improving based on the ESG index methodology, and Tesla struggling with some high-profile public controversies. And it's worth noting that, despite dropping from the index in 2022, the S&P added Tesla back into the index in 2023 after they improved by adding some more environmental disclosures, among other things. So what do you think? Are these ESG indexes useful tools for investors and society as a whole, or are they overly complicated and not focused on the most important elements? Should Tesla be given added weighting due to its overall business model and purpose, which can be directly linked to a reduction in overall carbon emissions, or should it simply be judged against other industry group companies based on how it's trying to reduce its own negative effect on the environment and society?